Hey everyone, Mr. The Fanboy here. Time for another WWE rant. Every time I go to any spoiler website and look up information on WWE, I always read something that pisses me off and makes me hate WWE even more than I already did, than I already do right now. Than I already do right now. Yesterday when I was on lordsofpain.net, I read something that completely pissed me off. And after all of the awesome wrestling I've seen from the independents, the international promotions, and now TNA and anything old school, I cannot watch or accept anything on WWE. That is just a terrible product. I tried to watch a stream of Monday Night's Raw, a replay of Monday Night's Raw, and I fast forwarded through everything. I could not watch it. You talk about just a boring, dull, bland product. That is the WWE. That is the WWE. You talk about a boring, bland product. That is the WWE, man. That is the WWE. I can't watch any of that, man. I can't watch any of that. That product just sucks, man. That product, WWE, that product just sucks, and it will forever will suck. I said I am not watching WWE until they have the product, the level of WCW, the level of WCW, and the level of WCW, the level of WCW. They will never be as good as WCW or any old school promotion. They will never be as good as WCW or any old school promotion or any old school promotion. So I'm just not watching. I'm never watching WWE again until they get the following wrestlers. Until they get the follow, until unless they sign the following wrestlers, and that's Angelico and AJ Styles, according to one of the one of the Wrestle Talk TV shows I watched on here. WWE is looking to sign Angelico from the AAA promotion and Lucha Underground, and of course AJ Styles. They're also looking to sign Ricochet. Unless those three debut on WWE television. I mean the main shows, Raw and SmackDown, not the NXT, which they probably will appear. Never watching WWE again because WWE, nothing about this product interests me. Not even the guys I like on WWE can make me tune in. Will can make me tune in. Can make me tune in. I just don't like that product, man. I just don't like that product. So this is my several reasons WWE sucks and is boring and forever will suck. And the very first problem I have with WWE is the road schedule. Since the wrestlers have to travel, I don't care about their health and stuff like that. If they don't stand up to Vince McMahon, and say enough is enough, and are willing to lie, when this stuff is brought to their attention, then I can't feel sorry for you and I can't help you. And they're gonna constantly, I can't help you. Here's the problem I have with the road schedule. It leads to horrible, fake, slow-paced, boring action in the ring, man. I tried watching all the matches. Roman Reigns and Big Show, Kevin Owens and Titus O'Neil, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, and Tyler Breeze and Dean Ambrose, and all of these matches bored the living piss out of me, man. They were so slow and just boring and dull and uninteresting. All of these matches bored the living piss out of me, man. Nothing about WWE was boring, and I skipped the Divas matches. I didn't even try to watch those. It was just so damn boring. And Cesaro's match with Del Rio was boring too, man. Like I said, the road schedule is just terrible. They strip wrestlers of their moves and they water them down instead of getting rid of the cause of the problem, and that's the road schedule. There is no reason why that should be around. You see promotions like WCW and any other promotion and MMA promotions be successful without it. So why do you still have a road schedule? It's another idea that doesn't benefit wrestling. It benefits Vince McMahon. Um, Next is yeah. Next is so that's the first problem I have with WWE. The next problem I have with WWE is, like I said, racism. Hulk Hogan's words, Hulk Hogan's racist comment, Hulk Hogan's scandalous remarks, and and off the rope shows. Um, why is WWE bothered about Hulk Hogan's racism video? Opened up a lot of eyes that I never realized about WWE. WWE and that is they are racist. And here's the problem I have with WWE. It's not so much they're racist. It's that they did all these things. It's that they did all these things and they were never truly punished for them. They and WWE themselves never truly owned up for them. Any other wrestling company, I'm mainly talking about WCW here. When they did these things, they were called out, they were called out on it, and something was done about it, and they owned up for it, and something was done about it. WCW in the early '90s, Bill Watts, he's allegedly a known racist and I think a homophobe. I think a homophobe. He's made disparaging remarks towards African Americans and gay people. Gay people. Something was done about that, and Ron Simmons became one of the first world WCW World Heavyweight Champion. In 2000, the Japanese manager Sonny Uno and preliminary wrestler Harrison Hardbody and 10 other wrestlers filed a lawsuit against WCW for supposedly racial discrimination, for racial discrimination, and all of their stuff, all of their stuff was settled out of court. Their stuff was settled out of, and this, and all their stuff was settled, all their stuff was settled, out of court, was settled out of, and it was settled out of court, and it's led to Booker T becoming a five-time WCW heavyweight champion, and it led to Stevie Ray getting a job as an announcer towards the final days of WCW. So, WCW, when they were racist, they were called out on it, and something was done to it. They owned up for it. Vince McMahon did all this stuff and fired Hogan, distracting himself, and had the nerve to post that BS about, oh, we are into providing opportunities for people of all nationalities. Then you go back and look at all that stuff they're doing. First of all, you got Junkyard Dog, who was over as Hogan, no belt, no title. He did. This guy's never even won a belt. This guy actually shows you why belts in WWE suck. They're props. Why belts in WWE suck. It's the wrestlers who make the belts. Wrestlers who make the belts. But all those titles, all those is over as Hogan and no belt. Then you got Bad News Allen, who he left WWE in the early '90s for Japan's UWFI promotion, and he said, you can find it on Wikipedia, that he left WWE because Vince McMahon didn't fill it with his promotion on making him the very first African American heavyweight champion. Well, Bad News is now deceased. Bad News Allen is now deceased. But if that's true, man, 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 like I said, man, screw WWE for that garbage, man. Then of course you got so then of course Slickster. First of all, you have a manager named the Slickster, a black manager named the Slickster. But then you have zoom ups of him eating. Then you do this. First off, you do this horrible stereotypical video called Slot Jive Soul Bro. Jive Soul Bro. Then you have zoom ups of him eating fried chicken. Zoom ups of him eating fried chicken. At WrestleMania 6, Roddy Piper, for his match with Bad News Allen, you have him come out in half blackface. A couple of years later, you have Goldust come out in full on blackface. And then of course you have Vince McMahon say the N word live on TV right to Booker T. Then you had Triple H destroy Booker T with that horrible racist promo. Yeah, but then Triple H beats Booker T, proving it is true. Then, which I never forgave Triple H for that garbage. Then of course Then of course, Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin. First off, you give him a mama. That horrible mama. You give him a mama. Then not just like off the rope show, not just any mama, but a mama that fulfills all sorts of stereotypes, all sorts of stereotypes, all sorts of stereotypes, and it led nowhere. Shelton Benjamin, he was in the mid card wrestling for the Intercontinental Championship, which he was already wrestling for. Come to think of it, I think I remember him beating Randy Orton at Backlash 2004. I think he beat Orton for the Intercontinental Championship. He beat Randy Orton for the Intercontinental Championship. He was wrestling for the Intercontinental Championship. Then he later reformed his tag team with Haas and was wrestling for the Tag Team Championship. Then he went to the ECW brand to wrestle for the ECW brand championship, which, like I said that's not the real ECW title. The real one, Rhino, is the last real ECW title. That title was the same thing as an Intercontinental United States title. And then you got then he came back to what's his name, and then he later got released. Then he came back to Raw, and he later was released. So Shelton Benjamin, Shelton Benjamin, Shelton Benjamin, Shelton Benjamin. Throughout his run, like I said, okay, I don't think Shelton Benjamin could have became a World Heavyweight Champion in my opinion. Just like Lethal and Cesaro, awesome in the ring, but he just didn't have the charisma, the acting ability. He just didn't have the mic skills and the charisma to be a world heavyweight champion. World heavyweight champion. But he's a person that a lot of people wanted as world heavyweight champion. He's a person a lot of people wanted as world heavyweight champion. And the fact that the Miz got to be a world heavyweight champion, but Shelton Benjamin, Kofi Kingston, MVP, and Kofi Kingston, who succeed where Shelton Benjamin failed, and even R-Truth. None of these guys got to ever be a world heavyweight champion, but the Miz could. That right there makes me hate WWE. So right there, that's the next problem I have with WWE, racism. And right when R-Truth was coming up in 2011, they fed him up to Cena. Then they later turned him face, and he was back where he was. So yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. TNA. First of all, TNA, they had R-Truth as World Heavyweight Champion, is NWA Champion in the early days of TNA. I didn't think R-Truth deserved to be NWA Heavyweight Champion, but that's still a black guy being an NWA Heavyweight Champion. And they had Bobby Lashley as a World Heavyweight Champion. WWE, besides The Rock, and The Rock, if he wasn't Samoan, would have never been World Heavyweight Champion. They make sure The Rock, they make sure they focus on the Samoan heritage first. And so yeah, you've never had a World Heavyweight Champion. You never had a World Heavyweight Champion. So that's the next problem for WWE is racism. And today it still continues. You had Crime Time, and you got the New Day, the one of the worst gimmicks of all time. The New Day, the worst gimmicks of all time. And screw what you call for agreeing to that, gimmick. Screw Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E for agreeing to this annoying, stereotypical, fake gimmick. Fake gimmick. There's nothing good about this. This is trash. If you defend this, fuck you. Yes, I'm saying that. If you defend that gimmick. Now, so that's the first problem I have with WWE. The next problem I have with WWE, and this is something I've had a problem with WWE for a while now, since I was a teenager, and that is the bullying. That is the mistreatment and the bullying of wrestlers, not only by race but by shape, size, and size. Small wrestlers and big wrestlers. Wrestlers bullying wrestlers by not only race but size, shape, and weight. Bullying wrestlers. When Vicky Guerrero was on Vicky Guerrero, when she was in WWE, you have wrestlers like Jerry the King Lawler and John Cena, who are supposed to be role models to the kids, making fat jokes at Vicky Guerrero's expense. You have WWE calling people like Paul Heyman a walrus. Then of course you have during in 2013 Zeb Coulter, he called, I think, who was he feuding with? I think he was feuding with the Matadors. He called them border jumpers. Border jumpers. So that's racism again. And of course and of course, like I said, they released Chris Hero because his body, because they didn't like the way his body looked. They didn't like the way his body looked because he wouldn't work out when Chris Hero has pretty much always looked the way he does. He's pretty much always looked the way he does, but because his body was not a certain way, Chris Hero was fired. Chris Hero was fired. The Briscoe brothers returned that were Briscoe brothers were turned down because they weren't cosmetically appealing enough. They weren't cosmetically appealing enough, and you had Justin Gabriel. Justin Gabriel. First of all, after the Nexus, you barely feature him on TV. You barely feature him on TV. He even tries himself to come up with a character in Triple H. According to him, according to Justin Gabriel, Triple H wouldn't listen to his ideas for his gimmick, and Justin Gabriel just left WWE. Tyson Kidd wasn't doing anything until you put him with Cesaro, and now he's injured. Um, I understand not all small wrestlers can be world champions, but like I said, I'm sick of the what's his name? Then of course the title reigns. This goes back to '94 with Bret Hart. Bret Hart. You have Bret Hart. He finally gets his revenge on Yokozuna for the World Heavyweight Championship. Instead of accepting that Bret Hart was the new thing at that time, and you alienated the original fans. First off, when they grew up and you admitted wrestling was fake. Then of course, and then of course when you drove out, then of course the steroid trials, which drove away Hogan and all those wrestlers. Then of course the fan base who still stuck with your product, the fans who still stuck with your product, they were about sick of Hogan and all those people and the comic book wrestlers, and were into the grittier wrestlers like Bret, Shawn, Razor, Bigelow, Owen Hart, and those type of guys. They wanted a new grittier type of wrestler. So instead of accepting that these guys, Bret Hart and these guys, were the new thing, no, you tried to go back to Luger, but Luger, I remember this, he idiotically bragged about the outcome of WrestleMania 10 at a bar, and so they changed it to Bret Hart winning. You tried to go to Luger. Then, of course, you gave Diesel, Kevin Nash, the belt for a year. You let the Clique run wild and do what they wanted. And you had Kevin Nash as champion for a year, which was boring, one of the worst champions ever. And Kevin Nash and the Clique got to have awesome matches. Oh, but Bret Hart, he got to feud with a pirate, John Pierre Lafitte, Isaac Yankem, Hakushi, and Jerry the King Lawler, while Shawn Michaels and the Clique gets to have all these awesome matches. He got a few of those guys. Shows you how awesome Bret Hart was, because these matches were awesome, man. These matches were awesome. They were way better than any stinkfest Kevin Nash was in. Kevin Nash, all his matches sucked. The only match I remember him being good with was Shawn and Bret Hart. Two wrestlers who could have a good match with Kevin Nash. He also tried to get the Mabel, and I'm a huge fan of the late Mabel, but Mabel had no business at that point in his career being in a being in the main event. No, he was better off in a tag team. Maybe later, but not right there in the main event. At King of the Ring, you had Mabel winning the King of the Ring, and this is when the ECW people loudly boo that garbage, hijack that show. So it's like saying, every time, point I'm trying to get at is, whenever there's a small wrestler, they always screw up. They always sabotage and screw up their title reign. The only good is Shawn Michaels. The only reason he was champion, people talk about how much of a prick, how much of an a-hole Shawn Michaels was back in the day. The only reason that's why Shawn Michaels politicked. He would have never been World Heavyweight Champion. He would have been a mid-carder and eventually been released, just like his partner, Marty Jannetty. Shawn Michaels, had he not politicked. X-Pac. X-Pac was one of the most over members in DX and was probably the best worker and no title shot. It pisses me off how Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and the worst of all, Seth Rollins, can be World Heavyweight Champions. And the Miz, don't forget the Miz. The Miz can be World Heavyweight Champions. But X-Pac, who was way better than both of them, who had more charisma than all of them, and was way better than all of them in the ring, he of course couldn't be. He, of course, couldn't be a world heavyweight champion. Instead, when he was massively over in 98 and 99, in late 99, they had him turn on his partner Kane, which this the fans, even though this was a storyline, the fans never forgave him for this because regardless of his character, after he turned on Kane, he would get booed out of every building, which people have led to refer to as X-Pac heat, where regardless of whether you're a face or a heel, people just don't like you and people just boo the crap out of you. That was up until recently. Now he gets cheered because WWE sucks so much now that seeing any past Attitude Era star and past wrestling star is good now. That's how badly WWE sucks now. That's how badly WWE sucks now. But they turned him heel, and it was all about Triple H and his monster push, and then of course RVD. I don't remember much of RVD's first match with Triple H, where Triple H beat him. I don't remember much of that because I really wasn't watching much of WWE then. But I remember One Night Stand 2006. I remember One Night Stand 2006. First of all, the win against Cena, even though this was one of my favorite matches, the win against Cena was not clean. You had Edge in the helmet. You had Edge in the helmet. Edge in the helmet. Then he lost the title back to Edge or Cena, I can't remember. Then he lost the ECW championship to Big Show. To Big Show. Always sabotaging the ring. Then Vince McMahon made himself ECW heavyweight champion. So yeah. Then of course, Rey Mysterio only won the belt because of the reaction of because Eddie Guerrero's death made him even more popular. Eddie's great. That's another thing. WWE exploiting the death of Eddie Guerrero. Another reason I hate them. Another reason I hate them. And Rey Mysterio. Then of course next is um Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. First of all, one of the only reasons they won belts, not only was out of loyalty for the company. I mentioned how Eddie Guerrero and Benoit had to use steroids. Steroids. They get bigger. They get bigger. If they didn't get bigger, they would never have been world heavyweight champion. They would have never been world heavyweight champion. I mentioned how they had to use steroids to get bigger. But they would have never been world heavyweight champions if Austin, Rock, Brock, and Goldberg would have never left. They would have never been world champions. They would have never been world champions. Eddie Guerrero quickly loses his belt to JBL. And Benoit lost his belt to Randy Orton. And right around the time Eddie Guerrero was gonna win the heavyweight champion, first off he was on Tuesday. That was Tuesday SmackDown. So of course Triple H wasn't on that show. So of course he got to be world heavyweight champion. He died. Chris Benoit. First off, they buried him in the mid card with the United States title. They buried him in the mid card. Then they were going to demote him even more by sending him to the ECW brand. So those reigns didn't last long. WWE refused to put the marketing machine behind both of them like they later did with John Cena and Batista. And Randy Orton. Even Randy Orton never truly got a chance to lead the company like he's supposed to. Then of course Daniel Bryan. I mentioned first off Daniel Bryan. Instead of having him man up and cash in the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania like he said he was gonna do, no, they have him cashing in on Big Show at TLC 2011. Then they turn him heel, get involved with this AJ, get him involved with this feud, get involved with his storyline with AJ. Then at WrestleMania, even though everyone told him not to do it, they bury him in a 28 second. They bury him in a 30-second match at WrestleMania 28. Which made him even more popular and destroyed Sheamus and destroyed your babyface Sheamus. And then of course after getting popular, getting the belt again, he had to forfeit the belt because of injury. I don't remember how he lost it. I remember him beating Triple H and Batista, but I don't remember how he lost the belt. I remember him having to forfeit it. I don't remember how he lost the belt, but I remember him losing it quickly and yeah, then CM Punk. I mentioned the Summer of Punk angle. First of all, you have him return to WWE quickly. You bring him back quickly. Then of course you have him lose. You have him lose. You have Kevin Nash come in and jackknife powerbomb him and have ADR cash in his Money in the Bank. Then of course you have him lose to R-Truth and The Miz. Him lose to R-Truth. Then have him lose to Triple H and R-Truth and The Miz. Then of course you have him. Then of course at TLC 2012, TLC 2011, when he finally gets the belt back. Yeah, you finally give him the belt back, but not after all this destruction. You turn him into Cena 2.0, a cheesy babyface. Babyface instead of a badass tweeter he was. You transform that. Then the feud between him and Laurinaitis, which I was enjoying. Oh, you feed Laurinaitis to Cena and you bury CM Punk in the mid card. Then you turn him heel again. You turn him heel again. You turn him heel again. Right when they were about to have a baby face. Right when you release a babyface DVD and bury him mid card and start doing this PG stuff with Kane and Ryder. So sabotaging CM Punk's title reign, sabotaging CM Punk's title reign. Then Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins turns heel and forms the Boar Authority storyline. Then, of course, joins the Boar Authority, turns heel. Then Triple H, instead of having Sting defeat Triple H in the Authority, no, Seth Rollins, and having Seth Rollins turn face, and actually man up and challenge Brock Lesnar. I hate the Money in the Bank. I'm sick of people cashing it in on wrestlers. I want someone just like RVD did with John Cena to man up and challenge for the belt and win it fair and square. We don't care who would have won between Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. That's what I want. Instead, in the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match, you have Seth Rollins come out of nowhere and cash in the belt in the match. Make him like a weak champion. Then just book him as an utterly weak and pathetic champion. And now he's injured, so now they have a tournament for the world. And now they have a boring wrestling tournament for the World Heavyweight Championship now. So yeah WWE sucks. So that's another problem I have. The bullying, pretty much that's what I'm getting at. The bullying of wrestlers, based on their weight, size, shape, and race. That's another problem I have with WWE. That actually pisses me off more than the racism. Next, pretty much burial of the young guys. There's so many wrestlers. They've buried so many wrestlers while constantly featuring John Cena in the mid card. Then he had the nerve to say, "Oh, the wrestlers got to grab the brass ring," when there is no brass ring to grab. You're there in a company where they can't truly advance to the top. They've constantly shoved people like John Cena and Triple H down our throats for several years. Years now. So the burial of young guys. Then I mentioned how this made me stop watching WWE was the burial where you had a part-timer in Brock Lesnar and a 50-year-old man Undertaker. You had that as the main event of our pay-per-view, SummerSlam 2015, and you had all the mid-carders buried. You had all the talent buried in the mid-card, while you have and you also had Stephen Amell and Jon Stewart featured on a pay-per-view. Yeah, burial of all the young guys. They buried so many guys. I can't even remember anymore. I can't even remember how many guys they buried. They've buried so many guys. Next problem I have with WWE. John Cena and Triple H. These two guys, I'm gonna bury them in individual videos. These two guys are main reasons I don't watch WWE anymore. The next reason I hate WWE, and this is all eras of WWE. I pretty much hate WWE. Anything before Vince McMahon Jr. took over is the only form of WWE I like. I hate all WWE, even my favorite eras, which was the New Generation and Ruthless Aggression era. I just hate WWE and Vince McMahon. I hate what Vince McMahon has done to professional wrestling. How he killed off all the other brands, monopolized professional wrestling, and the guy who doesn't care about professional wrestling ended up being really the last one in town. Really the last one in town. And that is now the biggest wrestling company in town. Um next is steroid trials, Owen Hart, Eddie Guerrero's death, the Benoit double murder suicide, all of this stuff, man. All of this stuff. But I've already talked a lot about that, and I'll talk more about it in other videos. But well, that's that. But you want to know the two things that piss me off more than all of that? Yes, even all of that pissed me off more. First of all, this was my final straw with WWE. The burial of Sting at WrestleMania 31. I don't care how good the match was. First off, the fact that Sting had to lose to Triple H of all people, and the storyline behind the match sucked. So I don't care how good the match was or how good WrestleMania was. I will always hate WrestleMania 31. I don't care how good the pay-per-view was. It was what the pay-per-view represented. You know how Slag Daddy of Off the Road Show feels about WrestleMania 17? Well, that's how I feel about WrestleMania 31, man. 31. And before I continue on with this right here, that's another reason WWE sucks. WrestleMania sucks. One of the best things about that was cool about WWE was the fabled WrestleMania. WrestleMania in the 2010s sucks. It's not epic and badass like it used to be. Badass in the 80s, you had that. All right, here we go. We're getting ready for WrestleMania. That's how it was in the 80s and early 90s. Then in the early to late 90s, you had that. WrestleMania. Pretty much Linda McMahon's theme, the awesome WrestleMania rap. Then, of course, in the 2000s, this is when you got licensed rock and roll music, and now it's just some generic, nowadays, hip hop star or pop singer, and some lame song. That's what WrestleMania is today. Repetitive and lame set design, bland and forgettable. Nothing cool. So even when it is good, it's just bland and forgettable and nothing cool or memorable. So but going back, yes, the burial of Sting. You had JBO burying him on commentary. First of all the stuff JBO was saying on commentary, none of that had anything to do with the match. So nobody even defended is trying to say, oh, JBO's a heel. None of that had anything to do with the match, and none of it was true. None of it was true. And then of course you had the NWO coming out here. The NWO, first of all, Sting was associated with the NWO Red and Black, the Wolfpack. And he only associated with them for two reasons. One, because they were faces. Two, because his best friend Lex Luger convinced him to. And when they performed the finger poke of doom and became one stable again, he left and went back to his Crow persona. He was never associated with the NWO Black and White. That was the fake Sting. Then, of course, you only had three members. You only had X-Pac, who was part of both of these, D-Generation X and NWO, Scott Hall and Hogan. You didn't have any of the other NWO members, and this right here was just such a joke. First off, they were all old and slow, coming to the ring slow. And like I said, this whole storyline wasn't even about WCW. WCW was dead. This whole NWO versus DX versus WWE, I want to see that years ago when the WCW stars and the NWO invaded WWE. Now I want to see Sting taking on the Authority and bringing order back to Monday Night Raw. And bringing professional wrestling back to normal. Still, we get this WCW versus WWE versus WWE versus WWE versus WWE WWE feud, and like I said, this whole thing was garbage, man. I don't care how good the match was, the storyline. Then you have Sting showing up months later, even though he lost at WrestleMania, requesting and demanding a title shot. I don't care how good this match between him and Seth Rollins. I don't care how good it was. The storyline. And no, companies like TNA, the Independents, Japan, Mexico, they have the storyline, the dramatic build-up, and the awesome matches, not awesome matches with crappy storylines. This is when does WWE care about professional wrestling and awesome matches? So no, yeah, screw WrestleMania 31 and screw WWE's booking of Sting, and screw Sting for agreeing to that. Screw him for agreeing to that. He knew what WCW meant to people like me, and this is why you didn't come to this This is why you didn't come to this company. This is why you didn't come to this company. But you know what's? But as bad as I hate that, people, you want to know what's worse than that? You want to know what's worse than that? Alberto Del Rio, Alberto Del Rio leaving AAA with the belt and returning to WWE. First of all, I hate when wrestlers do this. I hate when wrestlers. First off, I hate when companies try to give wrestlers. I hate when wrestlers leave. When first, I hate when wrestling companies make wrestlers the champions and they leave with the belts. First of all, Alberto Del Rio. First off, WWE, knowing Alberto Del Rio was AWA Mega Rumble champion, WWE tries to get Alberto Del Rio to return to WWE. Alberto Del Rio, instead of dropping the title to Johnny Mundo, at Heroes Immortal, instead of dropping the title at Heroes Immortal, he leaves. He leaves with the belt. He leaves with the belt. He leaves with the belt. He leaves with the belt, and WWE prevents him from returning there and dropping the belt. So now the AAA promotion are now crowning a new heavyweight champion. Fuck WWE for allowing Alberto Del Rio to come, for allowing Alberto, for signing away Alberto, for trying to sign Alberto Del Rio when he was the champion of a company, and fuck Alberto Del Rio for returning to WWE knowing he was the champion, and for returning to WWE after this so-called racism. I can't wait to bury Alberto Del Rio in a future video. I hate Alberto Del Rio. Alberto Del Rio, man. After he supposedly punched the guy for making racial insults to him and got fired, and now he returns to this same company. Fuck Alberto Del Rio for this garbage, and fuck WWE for this garbage. WCW's dead, but the AAA promotion is alive. This actually may piss me off more than Sting losing to Triple H at Wrestle, than the burial of Sting. This pisses me off more. And this is one of the reasons I don't watch WWE. WWE is garbage and forever sucks to me. Alright, Doug out.